So Elon Musk was recently interviewed by Andrew Sorkin at the New York Times Dealbook Summit. Elon, of course, made some very memorable statements about advertisers on X. But today, we're just going to focus on his statements about Tesla's progress on full self-driving. We'll watch the video clip of him talking about FSD, and then we're going to review where we currently stand on this. We've got Larry Goldberg with us. He's a serial entrepreneur and long-term investor in Tesla. Wanted to get his opinion. He and I have been talking quite a bit about FSD. He's very bullish about FSD, not in the short term, but very much in the long term. Let's find out what you think about this clip. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So let's listen to this clip from Elon Musk. This is Chuck Cook. He's quite famous for testing full self-driving. So this was the area that he was most interested in. Let's listen to him talk at the Dealbook Summit about his thoughts on FSD.
Driving thing is I've been optimistic about it. We certainly made a lot of progress. If anybody has tried has been using the sort of full self-driving beta, the progress is every year has been substantial. It's really now at the point where in most places it'll take you from one place to another with no interventions. And the data is unequivocal that that supervised full self-driving is somewhere around 4 times safer, or maybe more, than just human driving by themselves. So I can certainly see it coming. Actually, really,
but do you think it's another 5 or 10 years? I mean, people
no,
say,
no, definitely not, definitely not.
So he said, definitely not 5 to 10 years. I was hoping he would say it's coming sooner than you realize. He was asked, of course, the context was that he was being asked, look, you always say future things and it doesn't happen. That's why he was trying to be a little bit more conservative in his answer. Yeah. But what was your thinking when you heard all this?
That was my thinking. He has in recent times alluded to his hyper optimistic view, and the fact that he's toning that down now is really a reflection of the realization of the errors of his own ways. But my view on FSD hasn't changed. 6 months ago, I said, I think on the channel, I thought somewhere between 1 to 3 years, the bias towards the 3-year. And I think we're 6 months into that, maybe 8 months into that. A lot will turn on this new version, because it is a change in architecture, and a change in architecture generally means a step back in order to get several steps forward. That's the nature of software. I think we will have a much better read on this in about 6 months' time. Much better read on it when we see the new version. What I believe in for the new version is not that coming out of the gate it will be that much better. What I believe in the new version is that it will learn dramatically faster. And so I expected a delay in its release. I'm quite pleased that it's coming before the end of the year. I hope they're not releasing it too early in order to get it out before the end of the year. But I'm very confident that it's going to learn dramatically faster than the old version.
Yeah, so that's exactly, great point. That's exactly what we needed to talk about. So it was released to FSD version 12 was absolutely released to employees. This was last week. And version 12 is now reportedly rolling out to employees. And Elon Musk said yes. So this was a week ago. And this might mean at some point, right? Maybe like you said, before the end of the year, but it's 4 weeks from now, maybe us early beta testers will get access to it as well. Even if it happens in 2 months or 3 months, but we're going to get FSD version 12. It's now being released to employees. Then it's at that point, like you said, it's how fast can it learn? And so all of our timelines could be wrong. And in a way, maybe that's why he can't say anything, because it's one more of those things that this is now no longer coded by software developers. And you can go and say, here's all the edge cases, and here's the one we just knocked down. Here's another one we knocked down. Here's all the others we need to work on. At this point, it's about compute and how fast it can get the supercomputers up. And then this neural net's learning on its own. So that he has no idea. Maybe it can solve in a day. Maybe it's going to take 2 years, right? It doesn't know that.
The problem, Herbert, when you're working with determinative, coding, that when you have an edge case and you think you've solved the edge case, you have no clue what you've done to all the other cases. So, you make this compromise, you fix this edge case. That fixing of the edge case could well change the code that damages a million other edge cases. And this is the game they've been playing. It's a very, very slow learning process, because you can only achieve so much, in terms of running it against the training data. So the big question is, will they be able to train it faster? And logically, the logic of it is that we will be able to, because it will be able to create its own environment, its own learning environment. One of the problems that you face is that in order to teach it, you need really exemplars. You need very good examples of difficult situations mastered by a good driver. So they're going to have to look at their entire corpus of data, and it's huge, to find those good exemplars, which is the opposite of what they've been doing in the past. So, it's all about technique at this point, and it's all about learning the best techniques, and that's a process, and that's the process they've been going through. The question is, how well have they mastered that, and how quickly can they be learning, and how much of how good is it out of the gate? So there's just so much to learn. My personal experience with FSD is that the biggest single problem is lane determination, is lane management. And for me, I'm unable to achieve out of my neighborhood interventionless drive because of that lane problem. I've got extremely complex lane situations around me. So that's going to be the test for me. I'm sure others will have different tests, but I'm very optimistic, and I think that what we're seeing with Elon is that these variables, these unknowns, are in his mind still unknown. Moving into a new architecture, as I've said before, nobody knows the degree of slippage and nobody knows the speed of learning. He must have a much better idea than either of us, any of us. And so I think that he's more optimistic now than he was before, but he's more careful about saying it again.
There's been many of us who closely follow Elon who's been saying that recently, in the last several months, we're finding that he's much more measured in his comments. He's not trying to overshoot anymore. That could be one of two things, right? That he's learned his lesson, or it could be that he actually is so confident now he doesn't want to say anything. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
There's a third possibility. There's a third possibility that he's pessimistic. So don't discount that.
That's what I said.
I must say, the people I speak to around the Tesla world, generally, there's a lot of optimism about the project. So we'll see.
So the good news is that investor, and especially the institutional investors, are now recognizing the progress of FSD. And so here, just a reminder of, Mark Delaney, Goldman Sachs, just very recently, a couple of weeks ago, released a note saying that they've estimating that FSD is going to present billions in growth by 2030 for Tesla. And this is Mark Delaney of Goldman said to his note to his analysts, it's just the FSD suite. This is not selling robotaxi. This is just the uptake of Tesla owners buying the ability to have FSD, whether it's a monthly or it's a one-time purchase. They now believe it's going to be tens of billions of dollars per year by 2030. That's the upside case. And so whenever you hear analysts like this finally taking this in and adding it into their, to their projections, that means that, they're finally hearing the message. And that's the critical thing. This thing exists. It's going to be a real thing.
Let me tell you one thing we're learning now is that FSD as a supervised driving utility has a lot of value. So, I've done 3 road trips across the country this year, in 1 year. I'm a guy who used to fly every week somewhere in the world, and now I just drive everywhere. Today's trip to Austin, or this week's trip to Austin, is an example why, because my flight was supposed to take off, 7 o'clock this morning, and here I am until 1 o'clock and sitting in the airport. This is a dog's life. Traveling by car is the way to go because FSD does the heavy lifting for you. And so, for me, the investment in FSD has been worth it, even without unsupervised full self-driving, because it just makes the trip so much easier. And I hear that from a lot of people.
Yeah.
So what we've learned is FSD has a value beyond full self-driving.
Yeah, that's exactly the point we want to make here. As long as it's valuable, 4 times safer than a human, probably going to be 10 times safer. If you're still supervised FSD, you will still want to have it because of safety, but also because of just the driving experience is much more relaxing. And so just that alone is already billions of dollars, $620 billion in revenue for vehicles on the software, energy, and services, of which that makes up a big portion of it. And then we're talking about licensing of FSD to other manufacturers. Again, this is before robotaxi. So.
Yeah, other manufacturers, I think there's a huge psychological barrier for other manufacturers, for other OEMs to license from Tesla. I think that the charging network broke that barrier. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to see and have a whole thesis around the 48-volt system. I think we're going to see that licensed. I have no doubt we will see FSD license, and I think it's all going to happen in this coming year.
Exactly. It's all going to happen this coming year. We just need one manufacturer to fall, and then the others will go. We need to do it too. Thank you so much, Larry. Follow him on X at Tesla Larry. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.